You said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us.
CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. When I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Well, it appears that Trump's ceasefire deal is about as successful as Trump casinos, Trump ties, and inevitably Trump phones.
Tell you what, 6 months in, Steve, and here we are, turning back on the campaign promises, and we bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. Yes, it was on behalf of Israel. We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III, because the entire world is going to erupt. And you want to know the people that are cheering it on right now? Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag-draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News, that brainwashes all the baby boomers.
The president took to Truth Social to announce a ceasefire agreement. That Iran disputed was ever a thing just moments before J.D. Vance appeared on Fox News, wherein which he cast a lot of doubt over the success of the US strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. It's just a day after he suggested that Tehran's near bomb-grade uranium was moved before the attacks, something Trump claims is just fake news from the mainstream media. Well, I mean, if the shoe fits between the couch seats.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said in March that, quote, Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Democratic Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee, said he was briefed on Monday that, quote, the intelligence hasn't changed. So why launch this strike now? Has the intelligence changed, Mr. Vice President?
Well, a couple of things about that, Kristen. So what Tulsi said back in March is that Iran was producing highly enriched uranium that was only consistent with them wanting to build a nuclear weapon. There's, of course, an open question about whether they were weeks away, whether they were months away, but they were way too close to a nuclear weapon for the comfort of the president of the United States, which is why he took this action. Now, there's another element.
Israeli sources were quoted saying that Iran moved as much as 880 pounds of uranium enriched to 60% purity from a secure nuclear storage plant. However, most of Trump's chief propagandists, like Caroline Leavitt, maintained yesterday that they had a, quote, high degree of confidence that Saturday night's bombings took out Iran's uranium stockpile.
We are confident, yes, that Iran's nuclear sites were completely and totally obliterated, as the president said in his address to the nation on Saturday night. And we have a high degree of confidence that where those strikes took place is where Iran's enriched uranium was stored. The president wouldn't have launched the strikes if we weren't confident in that. So this operation was a resounding success, and administration officials agree with that, as well as Israel.
Whereas J.D. Vance seemed to suggest the exact opposite, saying on NBC News, quote, we are going to work in the coming weeks to ensure that we do something with that fuel, before then sitting across from Brett Baer and offering this absolute word salad when asked if he was confident that the mission was an unmitigated success, as his boss had alluded to.
You said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us. The question before us is, can Iran enrich the uranium to a weapons grade level? And can they convert that fuel to a nuclear weapon? And we know, based on the success of our mission, of course, the leadership of the president, but the incredible skill of our military, that the two mission objectives are completely successful. We know that they cannot build a nuclear weapon. Now, you asked about the highly enriched uranium.
Yeah, like 900 pounds of it.
But what we know, Brett, is that uranium is something that exists in very large supply. Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon. I think this is an important point, Brett, because so many of the folks who have focused on the highly enriched uranium,
60%.
The main focus, Brett, has been to destroy their enrichment capacity, because we don't want that 60% uranium to become 90% uranium. That's the real concern, and that's what was so successful about our mission.
So after all this, if the Iranian government survives as is, what's to stop it from rebuilding over time if they in fact moved the 60% highly enriched uranium? That's the concern.
No, the big concern, Brett, and this is again what we destroyed, is their ability to enrich uranium. If they have 60% enriched uranium, but they don't have the ability to enrich it to 90%, and further, they don't have the ability to convert that to a nuclear weapon, that is mission success. That is the obliteration of their nuclear program, which is why the president, I think, rightly is using that term. But here's the question. If Iran is desperate to build a nuclear weapon in the future, then they're going to have to deal with a very, very powerful American military again. Our hope is that the lesson that the Iranians have learned here is, look, we can fly a bunker buster bomb from Missouri to Iran completely undetected without landing once on the ground, and we can destroy whatever nuclear capacity you build up. I think that lesson is what's going to teach them not to rebuild their nuclear capacity.
This comes after Fox News cast doubt over the mission itself.
30 Tomahawk missiles fired from an Ohio-class submarine 400 miles away landed at Isfahan. It is much too early to say what the bomb damage assessment at Isfahan, with its hardened tunnels some 600 feet deep, really were. Current and former Pentagon officials think the program was likely set back by 1 to 2 years, but no one knows where the highly enriched uranium actually is. 900 pounds of it, enough for 9 nuclear bombs. It could have been moved or could be buried, we're told.
According to the New York Times, the batch of uranium is enough to make 9 or 10 atomic bombs and could be transferred in cast in about 10 cars. Satellite images taken from the mountain nuclear sites outside Tehran showed 16 trucks parked near an entrance in the days before the US attacks, although there has been no confirmation that any uranium was moved before the attack.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
However, when you look at this, it appears that J.D. Vance is anything but confident in the ultimate success of the attack that went ahead without congressional approval, despite Donald Trump claiming to the contrary. And I mean, the thing is, the disconnect is a perfect metaphor for this current administration. They're constantly contradicting each other while the American people are left in the dark.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
And on the things that they do know about, they vehemently oppose it.
Still, I think it's so important to note that Americans not fans of this. And it's not just the CNN SSRS poll. It's a Reuters Ipsos poll as well. All right. The net approval rating on the U.S. airstrikes on Iran. You see it here. 12 points underwater. You're 12 points more likely to disapprove than approve of the strikes on Iran. How about Reuters Ipsos? 9 points underwater. You're 9 points more likely to disapprove than approve of the airstrikes in Iran. And among independents, 19 points more likely to disapprove than approve of the airstrikes on Iran. And I will tell you, Becky, that that these numbers are surprising to me from a historical perspective. Why? Historically speaking, U.S. military actions, at least initially, are quite popular. What do I mean by that? Well, why don't we go back through the time machine? We can go back to the ISIS strikes back in 2014. Look at that. You were 58 points more likely to approve than disapprove of those back in 2018 in the same general region, right in the Middle East. But compare that now to Iran. We are 11 points underwater. I have never seen an initial military action of the type that we had in Iran over the weekend by the United States of America be as unpopular as this one was.
Not to mention his approach to almost everything on domestic soil he's underwater on. Call the man SpongeBob.
Donald Trump, the wannabe emperor, has no clothes, and the country knows it, and the polls now reflect it. As Trump's failures continue to pile up, the latest Fox polls show growing public frustration, and his worst numbers, believe it or not, are on an issue that Donald Trump ran on: the economy. Donald Trump is now down 30 points on inflation. 64% of registered voters disapprove of Trump's handling of inflation, and only 34% approve. 58% disapprove of how he's handling the economy overall, and 55% feel pessimistic about the economy. Then there is Donald Trump's foreign policy ratings. 57% disapprove of his foreign policy. The overall job approval rating from the Fox News poll is just 46%, which means that 54% of those that Fox News surveyed disapprove of Trump's overall job performance. And look, Donald Trump has seen these numbers and he is not happy. This morning, Trump took to his social media to lash out at the network, claiming that Fox has been, quote, biased against me for years. They are always wrong and negative. It's why MAGA hates Fox News, unquote. That is, news to some of us, but that is the kind of response we have now come to expect from the President of the United States.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.